The hangar lights, a single dad knelt beside her jet, his flashlight resting on one hairline crack. She offered big money for his signature. But why would a tiny mark make an honest man refuse the whole room? Denied. Liam Brooks saw the crack before anyone else saw his face. He was on one knee beside the right wing of Cassandra Vale's jet. A small inspection light pinched between two grease-dark fingers when the wind hit the side of the hangar, hard enough to make the metal doors shudder. Nobody moved. Not the pilot standing, with her arms folded near the nose. Not the operations manager, with a tablet tucked under his elbow. The woman in the cream-colored coat watching him, as if every second he spent looking was money-burning. The jet sat bright and polished under the hangar lights. All smooth white skin and fresh blue striping, the kind of aircraft people trusted because it looked expensive. Outside, Mobile was being swallowed by rain from the Gulf. Inside, the floor was wet from tires and boots. Every person in that hangar seemed to be counting backward from a deadline. Only Liam refused to obey. "How long is this going to take?" Cassandra asked. Her voice was controlled, but not calm. There was a difference, Ellen. Liam had heard both kinds from people who needed a machine to be ready before the machine was ready. He did not answer right away. He moved the light a fraction of an inch along the panel seam near the wing's leading edge, feeler. The panel had been painted recently. That was the first thing he had noticed. The shine was too clean compared with the fasteners around it. Fresh paint had a way of making people feel better about things they should have been more suspicious of. Roy Kessler stepped closer. "It's a cosmetic mark," he said, not to Liam so much as to Cassandra. "Feel. We already went through the anti-ice system checklist. Pressure readings were acceptable. The paperwork is clean." Liam kept the light where it was. The crack was thin enough that a man in a hurry could miss it. A silver hairline running from the edge of the panel toward one of the fasteners, no longer than the first joint of his thumb. It did not gape open. It did not look dramatic. It looked like the kind of thing people called nothing when they needed nothing to be the answer. June Harper, the pilot, checked the time on the wall clock. "Weather window is shrinking," she said. "If we don't get airborne soon, we're sleeping here, and that meeting is gone." Cassandra's jaw tightened at the word gone. Liam heard it, but he did not turn. Years around aircraft to know that pressure always found the softest person in the room first. Sometimes it came dressed as urgency, sometimes as confidence, sometimes as a cleans maintenance file handed over by a man who smiled too quickly. He ran a gloved thumb near the crack, but did not press on it. Then he leaned in close enough that his shoulder brushed the cold underside of the wing. "Who signed off the last panel removal?" he asked. Roy lifted the tablet. "It's in the work package. I didn't ask if it was in the package. I asked who signed it." For the first time, Roy's smile weakened. Cassandra took 2 steps forward. Behind her, the investors stood near the open office door, pretending not to listen and listening to every word. The whole night had been built around this flight. A late departure, fast run before the storm tightened, a private landing where the right people would see her company move faster than the weather. A relief contract on the coast depended on confidence. Cassandra had inherited her father's company, fuel bill. But inheritance did not pay fuel bills. It did not keep crews employed. It did not stop people from whispering that she had been handed something she could not hold. 31-year-old technician in a dark work shirt was studying a mark on a panel as if it had more authority than the people waiting for him. "Mr. Brooks," she said, using his last name like a door she was trying not to slam. "My aircraft has been cleared through normal procedure. My pilot is ready. My operations manager says the file is clean. I need you to tell me whether there is a real problem." Liam finally looked at her. He was not a big man in the way hangars sometimes made men look big. He did not fill a room. He did not raise his voice. He had the tired eyes of someone who had learned to sleep lightly and work carefully, and the stillness of a man who knew exactly where a mistake could hide. "I'm not ready to say it's clean," he said. Roy let out a short breath. "Because of a paint crack. Because cracks don't care what we call them. The words landed harder than Liam intended. He saw Cassandra's face close around them. He saw June shift her weight, no longer annoyed enough to dismiss him, yet worried enough to stand with him. Liam reached for the maintenance folder on the rolling cart. The pages were clipped, stamped orderly. Too orderly, maybe. He turned through them with his thumb, eyes moving over dates, initials, inspection notes, pressure numbers. The anti-ice system showed acceptable. The panel replacement showed routine. The release path looked simple. That bothered him more than a messy file would have. Well, a messy file could mean a busy shop. A clean file wrapped around a suspicious mark could mean someone had worked very hard to make a story easy to read. Roy came beside him, close enough to crowd without touching. You're new to this aircraft. I've managed this maintenance program for 3 years. Liam closed the folder but kept one finger between the pages. Then you'll know why I'm asking. So we have a storm moving in and a contractual flight waiting on your signature. There it was, not a threat, not yet. Just the shape of one. Liam looked back at the wing. The crack caught the light again, a small pale line beneath the gloss. He thought briefly of the house he had left behind that evening. The quiet one, with a child's backpack by the door, and bills clipped under a magnet on the refrigerator. He had reasons to want easy nights. He had reasons to keep work smooth, keep people pleased, keep his name out of trouble. But a signature was not a favor. It was a promise. He crouched again and angled the light lower, this time along the seam instead of across it. The paint looked smooth from above. From the side, the line had depth. Get me the last pressure test numbers, he said. Roy's eyes hardened. They're in the folder, a raw sheet. Cassandra looked from Roy to Liam. Is that necessary? Liam did not answer too quickly. He had learned that people trusted quick answers because quick answers made them feel safe. Machines did not reward that kind of comfort. I don't like where this is, he said. And I don't like how new this panel looks. The hangar went quiet except for the rain ticking against the roof. Yune's impatience finally edged into concern. Are you saying the anti-ice system is compromised? I'm saying I don't know yet. Roy gave a tight laugh. That's a long way from grounding an aircraft. Fashion. Liam turned the folder so the top page faced the light. The numbers were neat. The sign-off boxes were complete. Everything on paper said the aircraft should be ready. Then he looked at the wing again. The fresh paint, the hairline crack, the clean file, the storm pushing against the doors. For the first time that night, the unease in Liam's chest stopped being instinct and became certainty. Not certainty about what had happened. Not yet, Fionn. But certainty that the paper and the metal were telling two different stories. And when paper sounded confident, but metal whispered back, Liam had learned which one to believe. The silence after Liam's last words lasted only a few seconds. But in that hangar, it felt long enough for everyone to choose a side. Roy was the first to move. He stepped to the rolling cart and tapped the maintenance fold with 2 fingers, as if the paper itself could overrule the metal under Liam's light. You're making a judgment call on a surface mark, Roy said, not a grounding item. Liam stayed beside the wing. I said I need the raw pressure sheet. You have the signed package. I need the raw sheet. Cassandra turned toward Roy. Give him whatever he's asking for. Roy's mouth tightened, but he reached for his tablet instead of the folder. That small delay told Liam enough to keep him where he was. Men who were comfortable with their paperwork did not stall over a simple request. Liam. June came down from the front of the aircraft and stopped a few feet from the wing. Her flight bag was still over one shoulder. She looked at the panel, then at Liam, then at the rain hammering the hangar roof. Liam, she said, unkindly, we're not talking about a loose tire cover. We've got a short window. If you've got a short window, say it plainly. I've got a panel that looks newer than the surrounding structure, he said. A crack at the seam, pressure sign-off. I haven't verified from the raw numbers. And weather out there, that makes the anti-ice system matter. Roy gave a sharp little laugh. That is a lot of drama for a scratch. Liam looked at him then. A scratch. Opening the panel proves you right. The words did not sound loud, but they moved through the hangar cleanly. One of the investors near the office door shifted his stance. Cassandra saw it. Control she had been holding on to began to fray. "Do you understand what this flight is?" she asked. "This is not a weekend charter. This is not some rich man wanting to beat traffic to his beach house. We have a coastal relief contract waiting on the other end of this. We miss this departure. We lose the room. We lose the room. We lose the contract." Liam nodded once. "I understand." "No," she said. "I don't think you do." But she walked closer. Close enough that Liam could see the strain under her makeup and the rainwater on the hem of her coat. She had the look of a woman who had been holding a building upright with both hands and had just felt one beam crack. "My father built this company," she said, lowering her voice. 200 families depend on it staying alive. The person in this hangar has done their job tonight, except the one man who won't sign." June looked away at that. Roy did not. He watched Liam with a quiet satisfaction, as if Cassandra had finally put the weight where he wanted it. Liam stood slowly. His knees popped from crouching on the concrete. "I'm doing my job." Cassandra's eyes hardened. "Then do it faster." Roy slid the tablet toward him. "There. Pressure numbers." Within range, Liam took it and looked. The numbers were there, neat and acceptable. Too acceptable, maybe, but not enough by themselves to prove anything. He handed the tablet back. "I still want the panel opened." "That will delay us," Roy said. "That's the point of checking something before it fails." Cassandra drew in a breath. For the first time that night, her voice lost its polish completely. "What'd it take?" Liam blinked. What would it take for you to sign the release and let us handle the cosmetic issue after landing?" She glanced toward the office door, then back to him. "A bonus. A consulting fee. Whatever number makes this worth your trouble." June's head turned sharply. Roy went still. Liam did not move. He had been pressured before. He had been blamed, laughed at, frozen out. But there was something different about hearing the offer said so openly in front of the aircraft. The crew, the investors, and the maintenance file sitting on the cart like a witness. The release form lay beneath a metal clip, waiting for his name. He thought of how easy it would be to make the room breathe again. One signature, one quiet surrender. A man could dress it up however he wanted. He could say the numbers were in range. He could say the panel was not listed as urgent. He could say everyone else had accepted it. But in the end, the ink would be his. "No," Liam said. Cassandra stared at him. "No, no signature. No departure. The airplane stays here until that panel comes off and the system is checked." Roy stepped in quickly. "You don't have authority to shut down an entire operation over a personal concern." Liam picked up the release form, turned it over, and set it face down on the cart. "Then call whoever you need to call. But my name is not going on it." For a moment, no one spoke. The storm pushed against the hangar doors again. Harder this time. The jet seemed less polished than it had 10 minutes before. June rubbed a hand over her mouth. "If we open it, how long?" "Long enough to know what we're looking at," Liam said. Roy's face flushed. "This is unnecessary, then. It'll be quick." Cassandra looked as if she wanted to overrule him by force of will alone. But the offer had already been made. Everyone had heard it. And now the release form sat face down between them. Unsigned. "Open it," he said at last, each word clipped. Roy did not move. Liam reached for the tool tray himself. He loosened the first fastener, then the next. June stepped nearer with a flashlight, not helping exactly, but pretending this was only Liam's problem. Cassandra stood back with her arms folded tight, anger burning through her worry. Roy watched the panel as if it were something alive. The last fastener came free. Liam eased the panel outward. A faint smell of scorched insulation slipped into the air. June noticed it first. Her expression changed before she said anything. "Person." Liam set the panel carefully on the padded stand and directed his light into the opening. The space behind the polished surface was not clean. A section of insulation looked darkened near the hot air duct. Clamp sat slightly out of line, not enough for a stranger to understand, but enough for Liam to stop breathing for half a second. "Get the pressure kit," he said. Roy's voice came out too fast. "That discoloration could be old. A test will tell us." The kit was brought over. The hose was fitted. The gauge climbed, held, then dipped in a way that made June's face go still. Liam watched it drop a second time. The hangar, had been full of impatience. Minutes earlier, went quiet in a different way now. Not annoyed, not hurried. Afraid to interrupt, Cassandra looked from the gauge to the open panel. What does that mean, Theon? Liam kept his eyes on the needle. It means the paperwork says one thing, he said, and the airplane is saying something else. The second drop of the gauge changed the room. Before that, Cassandra still had room to believe Liam was being overly cautious. June could still tell herself the flight might leave late, but leave. Then a sound. Roy could still stand near the cart with his tablet and his clean folder and look like the man who knew where every answer was filed. But when the needle dipped again, no one in the hangar spoke. Liam kept his hand on the hose fitting and watched the gauge settle below where it should have held. He did not smile. He did not look at Roy for satisfaction. He had been right often enough in his life to know that being right about something unsafe never felt like winning. June stepped closer. Could that be a bad seal on the test rig? It could, Liam said. So we check it. He reset the connection, wiped the fitting, and had June hold the light while he ran the test again. The hose tightened. The gauge climbed. For a few seconds, it held as if the whole night might still find a way back to normal. Fell. Cassandra's arms lowered from her chest. Tell me what that means in plain English. It means pressure is bleeding off somewhere it should not be, Liam said. With that discoloration and that panel crack, treating this as cosmetic, Roy cut in fast. It still doesn't prove the aircraft can't fly. Liam looked toward the open panel. No, it proves we keep looking. Roy's face tightened. You're moving the goalpost, following the fault. That was when Liam asked for the panel serial record. Roy hesitated only half a beat. But in a room waiting for truth, half a beat was enough. Cassandra saw it. June saw it. Liam saw it, and felt the shape of the night harden around him. The serial record is in the package, Roy said. Then pull it up. Roy tapped through the tablet. His thumb moved too quickly, skipping screens. You see, to turn this into a paperwork chase. Liam wiped his hand on a rag and pointed to the removed panel, now resting on the padded stand. The number is stamped on the inside flange. We can read it from the part. Roy's eyes flicked to the panel. Cassandra turned sharply. Roy, for the first time her voice was not aimed at Liam. June took the light and angled it across the inside edge of the panel, where the stamped number sat half hidden under a smear of paint and sealant. Liam leaned close, read it once, then read it again. He compared it to the record Roy finally brought up. They did not match the way they should have. Roy said, placement panels get cross-referenced all the time. Not like this, Liam said. He ran the light along the inner surface. Under the new paint, there were old marks. Not fresh damage, not ordinary wear, kind of repair trace that had been dressed up, sealed over, and made presentable. A part could be reused legally. Liam knew that. Everyone in that hangar who had ever touched maintenance knew that. It had to come with a clean history and a truthful record. This one did not feel truthful. June's face had gone still. Where did it come from? Roy closed the tablet cover. From approved inventory. That's not an answer, Liam said. It is the answer you are entitled to. Cassandra stared at Roy as if she were seeing the space between his words for the first time. Open the history. Roy did not move. Open it, she said again. He did. Slowly. Record did not shout. Bad records rarely did. They hid behind ordinary language, a transfer note, repair reference, a sign-off that seemed to cover more than it truly covered. But the trail was there. Thin and ugly, panel, had been pulled from another aircraft, one that had been damaged in a storm. It had been routed through inventory, cleaned up, repainted, and installed here under a file that made it look routine. Cassandra's hand went to the edge of the cart. You put a storm-damaged part on my aircraft? Roy's eyes sharpened. That is not what happened. It is exactly what happened, Liam said quietly. The issue isn't that it was used. The issue is that its history was buried, and now the system behind it is failing a pressure test. Roy turned on him. You don't know the full chain. No, Liam said. Why? I want someone independent standing here. Before this goes any further, he did not raise his voice. He did not have to. The room had changed. Cassandra was no longer looking at him as the obstacle. June was no longer watching the clock. Roy was no longer managing the room. He was surviving it. Cassandra picked up her phone. Who? Liam gave one name. Amos Bell. Roy gave a short, humorless laugh. Of course. Your man, independent man, Liam said. And one who won't care who loses money tonight. Amos arrived with Rain on his shoulders and a small black case in one hand. He was older than the rest of them, not slow, just unhurried in the way of men who had seen panic pretend to be urgency too many times. He greeted Liam with a nod, glanced once at Cassandra, and went straight to the open panel. Nobody wasted time telling him the whole story. Liam gave him the crack, the pressure drop, the serial mismatch, and the repair marks. Amos listened without interrupting. Then he crouched, set his case down, and began his own checks. Roy stood back with his arms folded. We're all very impressed, but this still doesn't prove. Amos lifted one hand without looking at him. Roy stopped. The older man checked the duct alignment, the clamp position, the darkened insulation. He had June hold the light higher. He had Liam run the pressure again. The gauge climbed, held, and dipped. Amos watched it fall, then looked inside the opening for a long moment. This aircraft is not flying tonight, he said. Cassandra closed her eyes once. Roy stepped forward. You can't make that determination based on. I just did, Amos said. There was no anger in his voice. That made it worse. Anger could be challenged. Team certainty had nowhere soft to land. Amos stood and faced Cassandra. The hot air duct is not seated the way it should be. The insulation has been damaged. In ordinary weather, you might get away with not knowing for a while. In weather like this, with that system compromised, you do not put people in the air and hope the paperwork was right. June looked down at the floor. The flight bag slipped from her shoulder into her hand. For the first time all night, she did not ask about the window. Cassandra looked at the jet, then at the unsigned release form, still lying face down on the cart. Only a short while earlier, he had tried to buy her way past Liam's refusal. She had thought she was saving her father's company, saving a contract, saving the people who depended on her. Now the open panel sat between her and that belief, showing her what the clean file had hidden. Her voice came out low. I offered him money to sign. No one answered. She looked at Roy, and whatever loyalty remained in her face drained away. Then she looked at Liam, not with warmth yet, but with the stunned recognition of a woman who understood that the man she had tried to pressure had been the only person in the hangar who had refused to make her lie official. Fees placed the test sheet on the testing in the cart beside the release form. Grounded it, he said, and keep it grounded until every inch of this repair history is opened. The order to keep the jet on the ground did not make the hangar loud. He made it quiet. The kind of quiet that comes after people realize the argument is over, but the cost has only begun. June set her flight bag down beside the wheel chock and removed her headset from around her neck. Cassandra stood near the open panel, with her phone in one hand, staring at the aircraft she had been ready to send into the storm. Roy stayed by the cart, pale now, his tablet hanging useless at his side. Ian wiped his hands on a shop towel and looked at the release form still lying face down. No one asked him to turn it over. Cassandra made the first call herself. Not Roy, not someone from operations. She walked a few steps away, stood under the hangar lights, with rain still rattling the roof, and told the people waiting on the other end that the flight was canceled for safety reasons. Her voice did not shake, but it had lost the hard shine it carried earlier. When she said the words, the shoulders of everyone around her seemed to drop at once. The relief contract was gone before the storm had even passed. The investors left without shaking her hand. Another spoke quietly to Roy near the office door, and then walked away from him as if something unpleasant had rubbed off. June remained near the aircraft, looking not at Cassandra, Roy, but at the exposed duct behind the panel. For a pilot, There were few things worse than realizing a piece of paper had almost talked her past what the machine itself was trying to say. Roy tried once more to soften it. There are review steps, he said. Nobody needs to overreact tonight. Amos did not even turn toward him. The review already started when the panel came off. Cassandra heard that. She came back across the hangar, slower than before. Her eyes were tired, but clear. Roy, she said, you're done here. He stared at her. You can't make that decision in the middle of a storm. I just did. It was an inventory transfer. A repair record, Henry. You don't understand how these things move. No, Cassandra said. I understand that you let me stand in this hangar and pressure a man to sign for something you knew was not clean. That landed harder than anger would have. Roy looked around the room, as if searching for someone still willing to treat this as a misunderstanding. No one stepped forward. Amos took the test sheet and laid it beside the release form. Keep both, he told Cassandra. The shows what was almost signed. The other shows why it wasn't. That was the last thing Liam remembered clearly from the hangar before exhaustion settled into him. The jet remained where it was, shining and useless under the lights. The storm moved over Mobile and out toward the dark water. The flight never left. By morning, the contract had collapsed. The aircraft was locked out of service. Roy's access to the maintenance system had been cut off. The consequences did not come all at once. They came in the steady, unglamorous way consequences usually do. Roy lost his position first. Then his certifications were challenged by the state board. Legal notices followed when the repair history was opened fully and the buried storm damage trail became impossible to explain away. The story did not need shouting. The records did the work. A reused part had not been the sin by itself. The lie around it was Cassandra did something Liam did not expect. She did not bury the incident under soft language. She notified the people. She notified people who needed to know. She told the board what had been found. She told the client why the flight had been canceled. She took the hit in public before anyone could force her to. In the company, her father had left her, took a bruise that showed. For a while, Liam heard nothing from her. He went back to work. He checked systems. He signed only what he could stand behind. He went home tired and paid bills the way he always had. No check arrived. No sudden miracle changed his life. In a way, that made the whole thing feel more real. The right decision had saved people from danger, but it had not made the world gentle overnight. Then Cassandra asked him to come to her office. It was late morning, and the storm had been gone long enough that the windows showed a washed clean strip of sky over the field. Folder sat on her desk. Amos was there too, standing near the wall, with his hands folded in front of him, quiet as ever. Cassandra did not offer speeches. I lost the contract, she said. Liam nodded. I heard there's more before this is over. He waited. She touched the folder, but did not open it yet. For a while, I thought you cost me that night. Then I had to sit with the fact that you were the only person in the hangar who refused to let me buy my way into a worse one. Liam looked down at the folder. What is this? A new role, she said. Independent Safety Authority. Under operations. Not under sales. Not under anyone whose job depends on the aircraft leaving on time. He did not reach for it. Cassandra understood why. She opened the folder and turned the first page toward him. The language was plain enough to matter. Any aircraft could skrgwasser a safety scurvy. Any mechanic or inspector could raise the stop without being punished for being careful. Manager could override a safety hold with schedule pressure, client pressure, or money. At the bottom, there was a line for Liam's signature, not a release form, not a surrender. A different kind of promise. Take it. If it's symbolic, he said. It isn't, Cassandra answered. The board signed it first. Amos gave a small nod from the wall. For the first time since that night in the hangar, Liam felt something in his chest loosen. Triumph. Not forgiveness, exactly. Just the strange, quiet relief of realizing that his refusal had not ended at refusal. It had become a rule strong enough for someone after him to stand on. He signed. Some weeks later, Finley. Liam walked through the maintenance bay as a crew worked on another aircraft under calm lights and ordinary weather. The old release forms were still there, But now a new document hung beside them in a clear frame. Stop authority, pendant review. No retaliation. Nobody made a ceremony of it. Nobody clapped when he passed. A young mechanic only glanced up from a panel, then back at the work, careful and unhurried. Liam stopped for a moment, then looked at the line of aircraft waiting in silence, and then at the small framed policy on the wall. It was not wealth, it was not applause, but it was his name attached to something that would hold when the next storm came.